Squid and Octo kids, welcome to It's a Splat Theory. I'm your host Kat, and today I'm talking about the Splatoon 3 DLC announcement trailer. Now, fair bit of warning, most of this is going to be unscripted. I'll just have a couple of notes on some points I want to make, but the rest is mostly a rant, although I'll try and sprinkle them in some theories with what they showed us. Well, let's super jump right into this. Having Inkopolis as an option to be a hub world, in my opinion, is kind of ridiculous. Okay, fair bit of disclosure. I never played the first Splatoon. I didn't have a Wii U. I didn't have the opportunity to play it. So I don't have nostalgia for Inkopolis and what it holds. But if you think about it, why do we get to go there? Sure, you can travel, but the Inkopolis and the Splatlands, if I'm correct, are kind of far away. And why would they have the same battle stage rotations? Why would you get to be able to buy the same type of clothes each places? And don't get me started on the fact that they are retconning stuff. The Squid Sisters are taking part in Splatfests again. And are, if I'm correct, running Inkopolis News again. They moved on from that. That was the point in Splatoon 2 why we got off the hook. The Squid Sisters moved on from Inkopolis News. They got too big for it. It showed in the trailer them sitting in the live space. Maybe that's for the podcast they were doing that we saw in the Sunken Scroll from Splatoon 3. But they should not be there. They should not be taking part in Splatfests again. Sure, Kelly was missing, so obviously they couldn't do Inkopolis News. But the point is that the Squid Sisters moved on from Inkopolis. They got too big for it. Off the Hook also, in the Octo expansion, talked about, hey, yeah, maybe it's time for us to move on too. And yes, they could theoretically still be there because Deep Cut is the Anarchy Live, or whatever it's called, and they're in the Splatlands. But also, those are two very different regions again. The Splatlands and Inkopolis are two different regions. Maybe they're two different cities. Maybe they're two different countries. But they are not that close. They're also very different climates. But the point is that they confirmed the Squid Sisters aren't doing Inkopolis News anymore. They have moved on. Why are they back? Did they decide, oh yeah, we're just gonna go back there? What about during the Splatoon 3 story mode? They obviously weren't doing the news then. I mean, I guess you could say that for the Splatoon 1 story mode as well, but to my knowledge, again, I didn't actually play it, they weren't there the whole time. But now, are they doing both? Do you not get them unless you've beaten it? If you've beaten it and get the DLC, are they not there anymore? I doubt it. So it doesn't make sense. And it makes all things a lot harder because they're saying, oh yeah, this thing that definitely happened apparently didn't happen. And if it did happen and they just went back, that wouldn't make sense. At all. And then there's also the fact that they moved the recording studio from wherever in Inkopolis to Inkopolis Square, but the recording studio's still there. All the same stuff is still there. Why? Did they set it back up there? Why did they do that? It doesn't make sense that they would do it. They have built a world in Splatoon, and each game changes a little bit. Things change, places move, stores grow. But it's one of the things that Inkopolis News moved places. They moved where they were centered. And that makes sense from the first Splatoon to Splatoon 2. And now, because of the Splatoon 3 DLC, they are reversing that. So it makes the world feel a little bit less cohesive. Alright. I just don't think that is a good enough DLC. That getting a new hub world. That if you really wanted to visit there again, boot up your copy of the first Splatoon. Because it's just an aesthetics thing. And some different characters. Nothing actually really changes. And also, for the Splatfest, we're going to have Callie on one side, Marie on the other. Who's gonna be the third person? Because did they not think about that? They had to have thought about that. But we now have 3 sides to each Splatfest because we have 3 main idol characters. But now we have 5, which would be really chaotic, or the Squid Sisters each represent 1, and there's a third one with them now? I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. I get it's for nostalgia for some people. But in my opinion, it doesn't make sense to give us back old. I would have rathered something new. If you could travel to a new hub world and explore more of the Splatlands or more of the City of Chaos, I think that would have been epic. But the fact that they went backwards and possibly retconned stuff that you can't retcon, really? It's kind of ridiculous in my opinion. But that is not the only part of the DLC. The other part, Wave 2, that has an unknown release date, is Side Order. Oh boy. So, all we know about Side Order is Inkopolis Square is covered in white stuff. And Poster Agent has white tentacles. Poster Agent's also another octoling. And, well, they flashed pictures of Pearl and Marina, so we still know they're still planning to be in it. But I have a question. Who won the final Splatfest in Splatoon 2? Did you say Side Chaos? Yeah, it was Side Chaos. So are they showing us what it would be if Order had won? Because one, I can guarantee that would not have been what it looked like if Order had won, because that seems on the brim of unplayable if that was the hub world, just covered in white, basically snow. But maybe it was sand. I'm not entirely sure. But the fact is that if that is what's showing us that would happen if Order won, how can we see that? Now, I'm going to tell you something. In a theory that will be coming out relatively soon, I was actually editing it before the trailer dropped, I make a joke about there being multiple dimensions or alternate dimensions. It was made to be a joke, because they wouldn't really do that, right? I mean, sure, we get bad endings and get to see multiple different bad endings, but there's not actually multiple dimensions. It wouldn't really make sense. It'd make things a lot more complicated. Are they giving us multiple dimensions? Because there are other ways to explain it. But if this is the reality where order 1, that's an alternate dimension. Because there's no way around it. And that would make a lot of things more complicated. Because would that mean that the Inkopolis hub world is an alternate dimension where the Squid Sisters didn't move on from Inkopolis News? Like, it doesn't make sense that there would be alternate dimensions. And if this is just the reality where Order 1 and, I don't know, maybe you need to restore chaos to the world, then that would make it wouldn't matter to Splatoon. Because if this is an alternate reality, then it would have never happened for us at all. It wouldn't matter to Agent 3, it wouldn't matter to Captain, it wouldn't matter to Agent 4, it wouldn't matter to Agent 8. If this is an alternate dimension where Order 1 and you need to live with the consequences and make it so there's not a tyrant overruler or something like that, then it would have never happened anyways. Like, if this is an alternate dimension, it wouldn't matter. I could make as many theories about it as I wanted, but it wouldn't affect the main world. It wouldn't really matter at all, so it would make it feel useless. With everything else in Splatoon, the other hero modes, in the first one, you save the world, you get the Zapfish back. In the second one, you save the world, or Inkopolis, really, and you get the Zapfish back. In the DLC, you save the world, you don't get anything back, but you can now play as an octoling, so it's cool. And in the third one, you save the world, you also get a Zapfish back, but Grizz's, little statue character changes, right? But if the DLC or expansion pass is an alternate dimension, we won't get any of those Easter eggs that they like to hide in, which are stuff I really enjoy, because none of it would have happened anyways. And if it's an alternate dimension, we still don't know what Off the Hook's doing. I mean, yes, they're touring with people, but we wouldn't really know. Like, we wouldn't get to have our Off the Hook help us. It would be an alternate dimension Off the Hook. Yeah. If it's not an alternate dimension, maybe it's that Team Order rebels against Team Chaos and tries to make the world all in order. Maybe that's the story. And you work with Off the Hook to bring the chaos back, which is basically the same, except it's not that Order 1, it's that people from Team Order said, no, we want order again. But that then brings up the question, what about the Splatfest rule? Where the Splatfest means that side is legally better. I know it's ridiculous, but if you win a Splatfest, that side is legally better than the rest. No opinions anymore. So, they would be breaking the law there. And I'm sure that mass vandalism and destruction of a city, covering it all in white, is also breaking the law. But it brings up a lot more questions. And this is just, I'm glad that we're getting something new. That I am completely happy with. But the fact that it could be alternate dimensions, because that seems to be the theme for the past few years in a lot of media, is the multiverse. Which makes some things a lot harder, because then we're going to need to decide what's in what universe. And also, if it's not, then that brings up questions about the laws in Inkopolis or the Splatlands about how things actually work. Like, also, did all the white stuff, did it just kind of come onto the city and kill everyone? I don't know. But I'll give Nintendo credit. They're doing something different. I'm sure. Another disclosure. When I got into Splatoon 2, the Octo expansion was already released. I also didn't get the chance to play that one. But I'm sure that when that happened, everyone freaked out. Because you can play an Octoling? You shouldn't be able to play an Octoling. Oh no! But people love the Octo expansion. So maybe this is going to be another DLC that people love. It could happen, and honestly, I think it might. Also, another thing, you don't get to play a new species. That was the one thing I was certain about. It was Splatoon 3. They kept doing the 3, so you should get 3 species. You know? It makes sense. It should happen. No, apparently not. We get to play either an Inkling or an Octoling again. Maybe you'll have to play an Octoling because the Octoling was, Agent 8 was on side order, and so probably most of Octolings would be on side order. You can probably play as either. But I was certain, unless partway through you discover a new species that you can play, you're gonna be stuck with your original 2. Well, Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 3 original 2 anyways. Well, just Splatoon 3 original 2? Anyways, the 2 that we get at the beginning of Splatoon 3, and I was sure we'd get a third one. And I was so excited for it as well, because it would have made things really interesting. But we don't get one. Yay. There's also the fact of circling back to the first topic, because again, I'm not using a script in this. This is really chaotic. But what about Little Buddy? Because I'm not sure a lot of people in Inkopolis would be happy that you have a salmon ling with you. Not a salmon ling, sorry, that you have a salmonid with you. And would they even allow you to have one in Inkopolis? Like, legally in the world of Splatoon? Like, the Splatlands is a city of chaos, but Inkopolis is like a regular city. But concluding points. I am excited about it. A little frustrated that I don't think I got everything right, unless Little Judd is the ruler of side order, and he's the reason that everything in Inkopolis is just covered in white. That could happen. I might be partially right, and that the destruction of Inkopolis is because of him. But they gave us no inkling to that. And honestly, it could be one or both of Off the Hook that's the villain. They're the only other people besides the Octoling that we saw. We might not get a lot of interaction with other NPCs. Honestly, we only saw those two, and for the trailer of the Octo expansion, we got to see Cuttlefish and Telephone as well, and some just random bus people. But also, you know how in the final Splatfest that they called an apocalypse or something? Is this a real apocalypse? Like, would it affect everyone else? It depends on if there's alternate dimensions or not, I guess. But there's a possibility that this is really, really good. Or it's really bad. But it could be really good. And honestly, alternate universes could be fun. It would give other theory stuff, even though it would make it harder, but it'd be nice. Also, the price is fair. For the Octo expansion, it was like $20. This is $25. It's basically just $5 for Inkopolis. So it's okay. It's not ridiculously expensive. It's also nice that you can visit the old places. They don't ignore that they weren't here. Can you go into Octo Canyon or Octo Valley, whichever one was the first one? It's like, I don't think they'd let you, because there's a completely different story mode. But if you could, that'd be really cool. Because visiting the old places, showing that, yeah, they're still here, it is one universe, even if it feels like they're retconning stuff. Or maybe there's time travel. Except for the fact that there are Octolings in Inkopolis.
Hello, future me here. So, you know how I was doing the ad-lib and stuff? Well, after I recorded everything, I decided to go back and watch the trailer again, and remembered all those flashing pictures. So, I slowed the trailer down all of the way, and took a screenshot of every single picture, and so now I'm going to cover them at the end of the video, which this is the end. Anyways, I'm going to talk about them now. Alright, so the first flashing picture, it looks to me like it is Pearl eating something, and Marina watching her. That's what I get from it anyway. The lines aren't super clear. The next one is of Agent 5 or 9, or the Octoling from the trailer, of her just standing. It's a little bit of a blurry image, but no, they're all blurry images. But she is holding a splatter shot as well, and with her back facing towards us. Then there is another picture with, we mostly see someone's legs and another person's shadow. I think that either that's an inkling because of the ears, or it might be Marina because of the long swoopy thing that might be one of her tentacles. I'm not completely sure. Then we have our new agent looking into what seems to be a river with giant icicles with veins going into them, but just sitting there staring. Then we have a very gorgeous picture of Marina with some glitchiness almost, but can I just say the art looks amazing there. Then we have our new agent looking out into a window, almost, awed by what they see. And if I'm correct, the top left corner, is that one of the Squid Sisters' boots? Because that's what their boots look like. I think that might be Marie. Maybe. Then we have a weird thing that might be eyes. I don't know. Then we have the door, which looks very similar to, in the trailer how they showed Inkopolis, and then that door where the tower used to be. Yeah, it looks very similar to that, with a octoling in front. I think that might be Marie. Not Marie, Marina. Ugh. Then we have maybe a stage, maybe a city landscape, but it looks like it's enclosed, or at least that's the vibe I'm getting from it. And then we have Pearl looking down onto us from that is Inkopolis Square, or what has become of it. I think that is her waking up the octoling, so I did kind of get that part right, except this one's an octoling, not a salmonling, Then we have a weird bone structure, or a skeleton of a fish with weird red squiggly eye things. And we have another drawing or picture with our new agent looking out into a building of some kind. And our new agent looking into the sun, or the blinding light. But it's interesting, so far this agent's been very monochrome, white, gray, but here it looks like their tentacles were the original dark pinkish red. Then we have this weird thing that I can't really tell what it's supposed to be, but the things on the sides kind of look like octopus suckers. I'm not entirely sure. And then this is what I was talking about with the pinkish red. That is very obvious. Oh yeah, was a normal octoling, it seems. And then we have what appears to be multiple octolings in a line, at least 2. So I'm wondering if it's going to be anything like the Octo expansion, where we have Octarians getting sanitized, or something similar to that, where it turns them into more monochrome beings. And then we have our dear, lovely protagonist staring up at us, looking kind of very dead inside. But you can see now she has just gray tentacles, no color to her eyes at all, and looks very much like the color has literally been sapped out of her, like it was sapped out of Inkopolis.
I'm sorry that was all over the place. If you enjoyed the video, why don't you super jump over to that like button, splat the subscribe, and ring the notification bell. And as always, stay fresh, stay off the hook, stay cool, and catch you later, Squid or Octo kids. Squid and Octo kids. Catch you later, Squid and Octo kids.